Morning, everyone, and welcome to our Employment Law Forum webinar series, the Vietnam section. I think we have a good program ahead of us. And my name is Yuen, and I'm a senior associate with the Activities and Givings based in Ho Chi Minh City. We are a full-service corporate law firm with offices in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. I would like to take this opportunity to share with you good news that our firm was just named Law Firm of the Year by the Legal 500 Southeast Asia World 2021 for Vietnam as well as for Laos. Joining me this webinar today is Mr. Trịnh Trung Kim and Mr. Phan Chu Nhật Tân. Both of whom have particular expertise in the labor and employment sector. Wai King is a partner and has spent more than 25 years with the firm. Tân is one of our most promising trainee lawyers and has so many experience in the labor sector. And because good friends have just shared with you about some housekeeping, so I just want to add one small point is that we will save some time at the end of the session to field questions from you. So please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. So let's go to the main topics of today. Practical issues for employee transfer in Vietnam. In this section, we will walk you through what constitutes an employee transfer and then some common obstacles that your company may face with when you decide to transfer employees in Vietnam. And then last but not least, based on our experience, we will share with you some tips to ensure that your intended transfer of employees will go smoothly and efficiently. So before we discuss about obstacles and before we share with you some relevant tips, I think it will be helpful if we understand what constitutes an employee transfer, right? So we have two similar concept: employee transfer and reassignment employees. And I want to clarify that for the term employee transfer, the law is silent on any particular guidance for this concept. But if you look at the most applicable labor code of Vietnam, you can find the guidance on how you would do a reassignment of employees. So the law says that if you reassign employees, it means that you reassign them to work to perform the work other than those stated in their existing labor contract. I bet that you and your team used to discuss about whether employee transfer can be understood as same with reassignment of employees, right? And if you don't mind, you can let us know about what is your thought on this point. If you think they are the same, you can type yes in the chat box. Otherwise, you can simply type no. And just in case you don't know whether you should type yes or no in the chat box, we are going to give you some grounds to consider in the next slide. Here we go. On the employee transfer side, you can see that if we talk about employee transfer, it simply means moving employees from one entity to another entity. I will give you an example. If you start in your investment in Vietnam by setting up a representative office, right? And after a few years of running the rep office in Vietnam, you realize that, hey, there are certain restrictions on engaging in a profit making by the rep office. And then you decided to form your own subsidiary in Vietnam. And to do so, you may need to close your representative office. And as a result, you will need to move the employees who are currently working under rep office to a newly set up subsidiary, or you can call it a foreign invested enterprise, foreign invested company. And consequently, one important thing is that the employee transfer led to the termination of the existing labor contract of the concerned employees. And if you look at the reassignment employees side, you can see that, and you may realize that if you do so, the employees will only be moved around and within the existing company. The law gives you the right to do so, but it also allows you to do it within a maximum of 60 working days in 1 year. So please remember this threshold. And as a result of the resigning employees to work in other positions or to handle the work other than those stated in their labor contracts, it will not lead to the termination of the existing labor contracts. And based on our experience, these are the two key differences between the concept of an employee transfer and the reassigning of employees, moving them to work on different positions under one company. And so I would like to ask if King have any further thoughts on this point so that you can share with the audience.
Yes, so then let me add something for Tu Chuyên. So in order to understand that employee transfer, so we understand that it will be transfer from one employee from he or her current employer to the new employer. In Vietnam, even the rep office or the FIE in the same group, but they should be understand that they should be understood that this is two separate entities in Vietnam, and they are two separate employers. So if employee want to move from the current employer to the new employer, he or she need to have her labor contract to terminate at the current employer and move to the new employer, and both parties should enter into the new labor contract. So that's why we say that the result of the employee transfer, we need the labor contract is terminated. And for the other, the concept is reassignment among the companies themselves. So that because in this situation, the employee is still working for the same company and the same employer, so that the labor contract or the employment relationship between the two parties should be still exist, even they or he or she need to move to the new position in a period of time. Over to you, Chuyên.
Thanks, thank you. And so we assume that now you have some idea to distinguish the employee transfer and then the reassignment employees as stipulated by the law. So when we discuss about this topic, we often receive a client that, what if our company want to use the term employee transfer, but just for internal purpose? The answer of this question is yes, you can do it, but please add in some further details by saying that, hey, we are doing the employee transfer within the company, transfer the employee to work on a different job or different position within the company. But given on the discussion we just shared with you, it's advisable to use the correct term of the law if you follow the process provided by the law. Otherwise, to keep things simple, please just use the term employee transfer when you do want to mention moving out the employee from the existing company. And so I think we are at a good process, and then we should move to the next topic, which is common obstacles faced by company when they do transferring of their employees. So all of these obstacles are made and put it here based on our experience helping our client doing the employee transfer. Do you have any idea what should be on the first place? Employees do not agree to be transferred and insist on their desire to work under the existing company. As this is one of the most transparent obstacles, I will not spend time to elaborate more on this point. So let's move quickly to the second one. Employees ask for unreasonable financial support to agree on the transfer. I bet some of you may face with this challenge. And the common reason is that, and the common reason why this is the obstacle for the company or the employer is that before doing any employee transfer, the company must have seek an approval on the budget for the transfer, right? But then when you do the transfer process, you face with some employees who ask for the support or the amounts exist such approved budget or go beyond the acceptable amount. And this could be very, very challenging. Another obstacle is that the employees want their seniority to form part of their new working period. In other words, they want to have accumulated benefit. Because I realized that some of the audience are Vietnamese, so to ensure that we have the same interpretation of the term seniority, I just want to say that it means thâm niên in Vietnamese, just to ensure we're on the same page. And King, do you want to adding anything on this particular obstacle?
Yes, so in this case, because we call the employee transfer, it means that it will need to the labor contract terminated. So in this case, we understand that the both entity still exist after the transaction. So the law of Vietnam allows the party to negotiate between each other. It means that employee and employer need to negotiate for the transfer. It means that the employee need to agree for termination of he or her labor contract with the current employer, and we move to the new employer under the new labor contract. That's why they, to some extent, they think that the current employer may be more reliable or something, some other reason he or she still need to work for existing company. This is the first one we may face. And the third one is means that in the case they agree to move to the new employer, but they still want he or her salary, the benefit for the current employee to be carried forward to the new employer. So in this case, we normally face with the current situation in practice. And for to deal with this issue, we may need to have the agreement with the employee. We normally have we call the three-party agreement between the employee, current employer, and new employer to address this issue. It means that the employee will terminate the contract with the current employer and move to the new employer. And if the three-party agree, that we can mention about the carry forward of seniority benefit from the current employer to the new employer. This is what we are doing with the other current. So in case by case basis, we may have some by to by case to case situation, and we handle on case by case basis, so that we do not have all of the same answer or same issue for all of the cases.
Yes, thanks, thank you. And then we move to the next possible obstacle that a company may face with. So let's find out what they are. Employees accuse the company of using their employee transfer to get rid of them. Yeah, it sounds serious, right? Yeah. And then another one, maybe they want the company to ensure that their position remains unchanged. This is another challenging for the company, because like you all know that maybe as a result of the transfer, the benefits of the employees can be kept unchanged or can be the same, right? But then there's no similar position of them in a new company. And if the employees insist on having the same position, the same level of management, for example, it would be very difficult to handle of this type of request. And then the last common one would be they threatens to disclose the company's potential non-compliance with the law. We actually face with this obstacle not only one time, but I would say more than one time. And Kim, can you share more details with the audience on this point?
Yes, so in this case, we try to think that you need to prepare a very detailed plan for this, and you also need to expect that there may be some round of discussion between you and employee, so that we try to explain their situation and withdraw their cooperation, because in this case both parties still need to maintain a good relationship. So there may be some misunderstanding at the first meeting, so that we can organize a second meeting to provide the employee understand that the change of employees good for the both party, and for good for their future. And also because you need to change this one from the rep office to the company to provide more stable work, because the rep office is for the short period, FI is for longer period, and we may need to prepare an offer letter to each employee before we work with them. We may say that all of the benefit will be carried forward on under the new labor contract, or their benefit should be the same, and if possible a little bit more benefit to them, so that they can agree to move to the new employer, to make that the case will be settled in a peaceful manner or in amicable manner, to avoid all of unexpected opposition or noisy from the employee. And we also, as Xuan mentioned, that we also need to prepare the package for the 7 allowance or something like that. So in this case, if the employees they see that their work is still be secure and their benefits still the same or a little bit better, they think that they should agree to move to the new work for the new employer.
Like just want to add one thing, because like Kim mentioned the situation for like transfer the employees under the rep office to the subsidiary of one parent company. I just want to add that the situation can also happen in case your company transfer like some employees to work on another company as a result of a merger and acquisition, or as a result of the change of the law, whereby a certain position cannot be kept within your own company. Yes. And because we just go through the 6 common obstacles that a company may face with when they do the transfer of their employee, we have a quick question for you. Among the 6 situations we just discussed, what are the most 3 common obstacles you think a company may face with when they do the transfer process? You can type the number items in the chat box. Yes, feel free to type. Yes, so that we can get more connected to the discussion today. And thanks a lot for those who have answered our warm-up questions about is there any difference between the employee transfer and the reassignment of employees. I just see one answer. Yeah, so A, C, and E, right? Another answer is that C and E. It means that this is it seems like people think that the situation when employees do not agree to be transferred and they still want to keep their current position should be the most common obstacle that a company may face with. And yeah, it still seems correct, like based on the recent answer we see from the chat box. And you can keep like typing your answer, because it would be very helpful for our coming Q&A section. Yes, and among the 6 situations we just discussed with you, this is to confirm that based on our firm experience, situation A is the most common obstacle that a company often faces with. And for the remaining situation, it depends. It depends. And it will depend mostly on the seniority of the people involved. The more powerful and the more senior the employee is, like the more difficult you as an employer may face with. Yeah. And because you seem like have so many interests on this topic, we have the next question for you. So if you face any other obstacle, or you think that our situation should be prolonged or should be added with any other obstacles, you can type it in the chat box as well. We can take a look at them, and then we can further discuss at the Q&A section. Yes. Because you know that for companies, for big companies that have like from more than 100 to 300 employees, and if you work on the HR department, you can see that the list should be prolonged, and there could be more situations that that should be added on the list we discussed today. But we just want to put some common situation in the order that can help you easy to memorize. Yes, so please feel free to share your thoughts, and we can give you more time to do it. But meanwhile, we can move to the last but not least section, tips for a smooth and efficient transfer process. Because we talked a lot about obstacles, right? And challenges as well. Let's see that are there any tips, and are there any advice that you can consider Regarding communication, yes, everyone can understand that communication is the key, and it's advisable to prepare detailed communication papers. And on a related matter, it's very important that your company appoint appropriate personnel to deliver the message about the transfer process and handle the process. Because though if you look at the face of the terminology, it's a transfer process, but at the end of the process, it means literally being terminated or being let go. So it's not like an easy decision to take, right? And so if you can appoint someone or you can appoint certain personnel in your company to deliver the message, like it can help a lot. We must say so. Yeah, it will help a lot, and it will save a lot of time in negotiating with the employees. Legal grounds. Why we should care about the legal grounds? Because in case you cannot reach a mutual agreement with the employees to let them go, you should base on certain grounds, legal grounds provided by the law to say that, hey, unfortunately, by law, we need to let you go. But we have some guidance from the law allowing us to do that. And to ensure that the process will be conducted in compliance with the law, it's advisable to discuss the detailed step with the in-house counsel or external counsel. Not because like we are law firms and we are external legal counsel. We mentioned this point, but it's just like one of the key important things that a company should be considered. And we are not talking only about legal counsel. We're talking about the payroll counsel as well, because the next one, the separation package, plays a very important role in the success of the transfer process. You need to prepare, especially the HR team should prepare several separation or termination package from lowest to highest, and it's always advisable to start with the lowest. And on a related matter, you also need to provide specific deadlines for the employees to respond to the company's offer, to respond to the company like proposed package, living package for their consideration. Yes, because even though the company trying to be like nice and showing the goodwill, right? It's important to put a nice pressure on the employees for them to make decision. And we don't want the situation, the following situation happen. Means that like the employees have sufficient time to like to get around and collect like information from the package of other employees. Though like some of the key message we deliver to the employee is that, hey, please keep confidential on the proposal of the companies, because this is specific for your case, for example, but we could not control that whether they will discuss the package with other employees or among themselves. Yes,
yeah.
and
So
yes.
let me add something for this one, because we advise that because this guy we at the end we still want to maintain the good relationship between the two parties to in order for them to move to the new employee. So it means that among the group of company, so you may expect that there should be some communication and there should be some, if possible, face-to-face meeting or virtual meeting, so that you can understand what they want and you may provide the explanation, the situation. It depends on each case, so that for example, if you move from the rep office to the company, you can tell the employee that you can see that our company, our corporation is now extend our operation in Vietnam by setting up the company. And now all the scope of work of the company is more broader than the rep office, so that it's very good if the employee agree to move to the company, so that they we can secure their work and we can secure their benefit. And if they understand well, and if they are still work with the company, I think there should be no issue for them to agree to move from the rep office to the company, or from one entity to another entity. It means that group communication, and you try to listen to them. You do not expect that they will reply you within 1 day or 2 days. You may have planned for maybe one or 7 rounds, maybe 1 month or something like that. It means that when everything ready, you can communicate with the employee, and you may expect that you may need to have some round of the meeting with the employee to get most all of them to agree to move to the new employer. This is what we advise. And the last one, only the thing is that you may some prepare some the other ground for the restructuring or something like that. This is the last one, and based on the each situation of your operation and among your group of the company in Vietnam. So it means that each company and each situation, we should prepare each plan for specific cases. So not everything on the same, but we may need to prepare some plan, some package, and we expect some meeting as a virtual or face-to-face meeting to understand what they want and to provide explanation what they need understand. That's why they all of them get to understand well that their job will be secure, their benefit will be secure, and it may be always better if they move to the new company to meet with the long-term commitment of the corporation in Vietnam.
Thank you. And now we will move to some tips about documentation and records. So based on our experience, it's important that the companies has all documents relating to the transfer process available before making any official announcement to the employees. So it's just about like the parent company decide to make a decision on day one, and then at day two, the subsidiary and then the rep office decide that it's advisable to let the employees know as soon as possible. This could be the worst case, seriously. And to be honest, it's advisable to keep this information confidential until your company are ready, that you can handle all the obstacles that we are just discussed in the previous slide. And then another tips for you is that you should get the company, you should get the employee's signature on all documents that they are required to sign on. I would like to take this chance to share with you like a situation that we as lawyers has faced with, because the transfer impact more than 100 employees. So, and each employees, the HR needed to prepare a set of documents. It's not a one single document, it's a set of documents that the employees need to sign. And given the fact that they agree, and some of them like agree with the separation package provided by the company, and in the meetings with the company representative, they get the consent already. And then like the company deliver or give the relevant documents to the employees. But it's a best situation if the employees can sign on at that meetings. But normally we should leave the employees a few days to consider and then like ask them to sign on and then to submit like one original copy of the signed document for the company's records, right? But they forgot to sign. And it didn't mean that they want to cause troubles for a company. At that time, they agree with like the settlement. But they are only agree verbally. And if you look at like the relevant documents, it doesn't have their signatures. And then the employees still agree to be transferred. And they did work for the new company for a while. But at one day, they realized that this is an incomplete informality of the previous transfer. And then they start to claim that, hey, their previous employment with the previous company, the previous employer still exists. And then they're working under two labor contracts with two different employers. And you can see that with only one small mistake, it can lead to like a nightmare, honestly. And so we highly recommend that the HR and all the support staff pay high attention on this point. And for the last point of this slide, you should ensure that all documents are dated in the correct and logical order. Kim will share with us more details on this point.
So we mean that normally if the employee agree, it should be recorded in the written, or at least they say, if possible, let them sign on the paper and send it to us. We can keep original one. Otherwise, if they agree, they can send an email to us, so say that they agree with this, and the hard copy or the original copy of their side document should be sent to us, so that we can keep it in our record. Otherwise, if they say that at the beginning they want to move to the new employer, but at the end they said that they still want to work for the current employer. So in this case, you need to update everything, and you need to arrange for the payment of social insurance or the other insurance under the name of the former employer. So it will create some unexpected trouble for you in the future. Regarding if the employees cooperate, is okay, but in the future, if they do not cooperate, it will create some unexpected trouble for the human resource staff member to handle this case, to move them back to the current employer, and do some with the taxation authority or social insurance authority to record them as a payer of under the name of the current of the former employer.
Thank you. And I think that we are on a good track, and just want to give you a heads up that we have like the next few slides just to provide you with some notes on some relevant regulation. And then we will move to the Q&A section. And so please feel free to type your question, because we're going to few questions from you shortly. So what we want to note you here are the grounds for redundancy. I bet you must have been heard about this terminology, right? Redundancy. And in case you cannot reach a mutual agreement with the employee on the transfer, so you may need to rely on the laws to terminate the relevant labor contracts. And the law are saying that as an employer, you can terminate the employees under the following situation. As a result of a change in structure or technology, including changes to the organizational structure or rearrangement of personnel, change in process, technology or equipment, or changes in products or product structure. And or changes due to the economic reasons, which include an economic crisis or depressions or change in law and state policies, on the restructuring of the economy or the implementation of international commitments. And another things, another note regarding to how to structure the separation package from HR and the payroll aspect, as well as the tax and insurance aspect, you should be paid to the regulation that as employers, you are required to pay the employees job loss allowance for any working periods, which are not subject to unemployment insurance in case of redundancy. And the law provides the statutory job loss allowance, which is equal to 1 month's salary per year of service, but at least 2 months' salaries. To the Q&A section, and we actually receive like questions about is there any minimum amount of time to give the employee to decide whether he or she wants to move to the new employer or accept the severance package? So I think that King also share with us his thought on this one, but would you mind like saying that again and answer to this specific question?
For this kind of question, I think that on case by case basis, so that we should provide the employee with some time, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, for them to make decision, and we expect that we should have some discussion with the employee. We cannot expect that they will all of them will agree at the first meeting. So the reason is they need to understand, and we try to make sure that there should be no misunderstood between the two parties, and they should be aware of full package when they move to the new employer. And if they agree that there should be no timeline or statutory timeline for the party to terminate the contract and to enter into the new labor contract, it means that if the employee agree, the both parties should set out the date of termination. And right after that, the both party, it means that new employer and employee can enter into the new labor contract, maybe on the same date. And to make sure that everything goes smoothly, there should be an offer letter or notification from the new employer say that all of the benefit under the current employer need to be secure. And if the offer letter available to each employee, you may send to them so that they have the time to compare what they are receiving from the current employer and what they will receive from the new employer, so that if they think that everything should be the same for the new employer, their future should be secure, so that they understand well their position, that they should move to the new employer. In this case, we do not see the good reason that the employee will refuse. So it means that we try to do our own things for well prepared, and when the moment is ready, you should inform employee. But you still need to leave them some period of time for them to consider.
That's because I can see that there are so many questions asking about like in general the best timeline or the best deadline that the employer should provide the employee to respond to the company. So can we draw a conclusion that it could be at least 7 days or 1 week? Thank you. So this is to help the clients like can have some numbers to memorize.
In this case, before at any meeting, we need to give employee a deadline to reply, maybe 3 working days. And if everything goes smooth, they can report. And as a meeting, we also have the deadline for them to reply. As why we may not know. We may say that we understand that if you do not send any response by this deadline, it means that you agree with our proposal. So we can understand and we can say some sentence saying like that. We agree with you that in any meeting or any communication, we need to set deadline for employee to revert, but it's not very tight deadline. Within 1 day or within the same day, it may not be recommended, but within 3 working days should be fine.
But like because I saw one question that can the employer give the employee like 2 days or like even like 1 day to respond, and assuming that like for this short notice to respond, if the company provide like the higher package, so is this like still feasible? Because like if we set out like 7 days for the lowest package, but then like 2 or 3 days or even 1 day for the higher or even highest package. So does it like practical or still make sense? Thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
I will repeat the question. So given that we advise the clients to prepare several separation package and from lowest to highest. So whether for like lowest separation package, we can provide a longer period of time to respond. And then like for the higher or highest package, we can put a little bit pressure by like asking them to get the response like within a day or within 1 or 2 days. Is this still practical?
I think practically, I think within 2 days, two working day or at least two working day. We may not set that you should agree immediately, otherwise it will be terminated. So it makes the atmosphere become more aggressive unexpectedly. So in this case, we should during the working with the employee, we need to also listen what they want and to make sure that there will be no miscommunication. Yeah, we should not give them very short notice, short period of time for their response.
Yeah, understood. And so on a related matter, so whether we just give the employees like the relevant documents so that they can bring to their home and consider, or we only like share the information of the separation package to them at the meetings?
In this case, because we need to prepare everything should be fair. It means that we should have the same method for calculation of their package for termination. Or if they want to carry forward their benefit to the new employer, so everything should be the same. It means that if you offer the package for termination, you should be offer the same to all employee. And if you intend, if they intend to carry forward all of the operation price and benefit to the new employer, you should apply the same. And bear in mind that there may be some tax issue for the payment of we call the statutory allowance for termination. When it carry forward to the new employer, it may not recognize as the statutory 7 allowance when the new employer to terminate contract with the related employee. This is tax issue, but it depends on case by case, and we should give some compromise to make sure that the employee agree to move to the new employer. The labor law does not prohibit you to agree to carry forward the benefit on working seniority from the current employer to the new employer, so that in practice, and you can have the three-party agreement to mention about to address the issue about the employee transfer and the benefit transfer.
Thanks, thank you. And we also received another question that I want to like speak it out loud for you and the audience to follow. So in general, whether it is possible to repair the documents, to electronic documents relating to the separation package. It means like during, for example, during the lockdown, the past lockdown, or during for any reason that the employees cannot travel to the office. So in this situation where the e-format or online format of a separation package is acceptable, and given this is a case where an e-signature means that not a wet signature of the employees acceptable.
For this case, if the employees they agree and they are voluntary to move from the new current employer to new employer, it doesn't matter, even by email or by e-signature or scan copy. It means that if they are willing to go and they willing to cooperate, it doesn't matter. Provided that you need to obtain their confirmation by email first and ask them to sign wet signature and send back to you so that you can have the wet signature document keep in your human resource department file, so that to make sure that all of their agreement is properly recorded and with the wet signature, so that you can avoid unexpected dispute in the future when the employee doesn't want to cooperate and they try to create some trouble. And in our order to show to the authority, if they investigate or if they request that the employee already agree, and this is by both email or and followed up by the original wet signature document.
Okay, and I think because we have about like 2 minutes left, I would take this chain to give a confirmation on a statement or question we received from the audience that the law does not stipulate or is silent on the transfer of the seniority. And then as a result, it means it does not allow the recognition of accumulation of years of service in the transfer of the employees. And then it means that the existing or the former employer need to pay on the severance payment. So because this is like the bylaw obligation, right? Yes, and I confirm this point, and unless you have any other comments.
Yes. Can you repeat this one?
Yes, so this is, we can confirm the audience that the law is silent on the transfer of the seniority. And then by law, the existing employer or the former employer have the obligation to pay on separation package. Yes, because as I remember, we have the specific regulation on this point.
Yeah,
so,
it is a bad way we can do. It means that everything should be clear cut at the time of termination.
Yes.
Unless the employer, the new employer or the both party want to give a more benefit to the employee, and unless the employee requests, so that it always a bad way. It means that you terminate and you pay everything, and the employee will enter into the new labor contract as the new employee with the new employer. So this is the always bad way. If the employee insist, or the company may provide more favorable condition for the employee, they may agree that some benefit can be transferred and carry forward to the new employer.
And to be served that like the new employer can pay what is so called as a sign-on incentive. Yes, we have seen that that benefits has been applicable by several companies, but please do consider all of the potential difficulties caused by the tax aspect. And so I think that's the end of the section today. And I and Kian and Tân, as well as all the Philippines teams, hope you enjoy our session today. And we look forward to your participation in our coming section. And so thanks a lot for joining us this morning, and goodbye.
Thank you for